Hello, and welcome to Financial Fortitude, brought to you by the Rutherford County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. Today, we're going to be talking to you about entrepreneurship. We are so excited to bring with you today a couple of guests that are not new to the game whatsoever. Today, we're going to be bringing you Ms. Malika Franklin from Franklin Fruit Tea. And we also have with us today Taisha Bradley. She is a publicist and she does some really great work with an organization called Corner to Corner, which really helps entrepreneurs in this space and to help them learn all things, launch their businesses and things like that. So we are super excited to have them here with us today. And to get us started, I'd like to know a little bit of background about you too. Let's start with Ms. Malika Franklin. Malika, tell us who you are, how you got started, what is your story, and how things are going for you currently.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I am excited about financial fortitude. Definitely my heart there. Wow, I was introduced to small business very young. My parents were serial entrepreneurs. So I really feel like it's just in my DNA. I've done everything from real estate in Detroit, Michigan, moved to Middle Tennessee, started a healthcare consulting company that lasted well over a decade. And at the end of that business, my husband and I started Franklin's Fruit Tea, which we're going on 8 years this year. Like I mentioned, business is very important to me. I love small business. I love entrepreneurship. I love helping other small businesses. I love just the walk of faith that it truly is. And nothing excites me more about being able to work hard for yourself, make it happen, take your idea and make it make money for you. So that's a little bit about me.
So now let me ask you this because see, I've heard so many stories, and I think I remember your husband telling us that the whole idea of Franklin Fruit Tea started with in the dorm room at MTSU. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Absolutely. Yes. This was so my husband, Jamel Franklin, he played football for Middle Tennessee State University and he got exposed to fruit tea once he got to this area. And being a college student on limited funds, he decided, I'm going to start making this myself. Now, he's been a foodie forever. So it really wasn't anything weird for him to start getting in the kitchen to cook or make beverages. And literally to this day, he's always like mixing this and that. And that's just what he does. So he crafted liquid gold literally on the campus of MTSU and just started to drink it himself, sharing it with his teammates and friends on campus. And when we got married, he would make it during the holidays. And I didn't even know what I was drinking. I'm from Detroit. So, fruit tea, I didn't even understand what that was. I just knew it was good. And everybody was requesting it. And so as our friends and family started to say, "Hey, I'm having a baby shower. I'm having a wedding. Can you make that fruit tea for us?" My little Motor City hustle brain was like, "Wait a minute. If there's a demand, we need to make a business out of this." So in 2017, just on that, vibe alone, we were like, "Let's give this a shot." And so we started off right in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, at our very first event at Cannonsburg Village. We did the like backyard barbecue fest, and it was a very successful event. And we were like, okay, we're on to something. So yes, it definitely started from my husband, just being a foodie at MTSU and making liquid gold.
Okay, so now look, I've seen you all over the place. I see you at various events. I know that you are currently doing a number of your own events with small businesses. Can you tell us what that is and how that vision came into fruition?
Oh yes. So obviously we're in Middle Tennessee, and there's a lot of events that happen in Nashville. A lot of them, but not so many, at least at that time, and really it stands true today, not so many happening right here in Murfreesboro or Rutherford County. And we wanted to bring some of that fun. We wanted to bring some of that exposure for small businesses right here to where we live. And we started with an event called Black Murfreesboro Market. And the intention was to gain exposure for locally owned, Black owned businesses. And we did that for, well, the first year we did that, maybe it might have been like 5 events. And then the next year we did it literally every month we would have a market. From there, we spun off and we started the Friday night market in the borough, which expanded from just Black owned businesses to any small business we found that that type of audience helped everyone a lot more. We just
Mhm.
got a very diverse audience, and we've done that consecutively. I think it's 5 years, 4 or 5 years now. I'm losing count. And then we've done other events like the Murfreesboro Hot Chicken Festival, which is this will be its fourth year, and that's a pretty large event and definitely a fun time for the community and a great day for locally owned small businesses. We do Small Business Saturday as well, and that is I think 5 years. I'm losing count because there's so many events, but just another day to rally around small businesses, give them a day to meet the public, give them a day to earn revenue in a space that is overrun with mass retailers, especially on Black Friday, that holiday weekend. We want to give those small businesses a space to get a chance to meet new customers and showcase their wares and services.
Awesome. Now, look, Taisha, we all know how important marketing and branding and all of those things are to not only small businesses, but businesses in general. So, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you started your business venture.
Sure. Well, thank you so much. I came from an entrepreneurial family as well. I find that that's very common in lots of entrepreneurs as well. However, my family tended to be kind of in like arts and entertainment. As well as business. So I got like a bird's eye view of a little of both. And I like the little both. I like the little arts and drama and flair. And then, I also love the entrepreneurship. I was an entrepreneur when I was a kid. My first business was face painting at vacation Bible schools, right? For like 25 cents, 50 cents to design. What do you want, a flower, a clown? That's kind of how I started off in entrepreneurship. And I found that I had a skill and I could use it to make money. And I was like, wow, anyone can be an entrepreneur. So I was always, kind of very open to it. I ended up going to college for a major called integrated marketing communication, and it allowed me to take courses in everything communication, from writing to videography, photography, marketing, public relations, communications. And so with that, I ended up with an internship at a Radio One station in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that's when I decided that public relations and kind of like the guerrilla, roots marketing was something that I was very interested in. I took those skills and went into nonprofit, actually went into corporate for about 4 years. And that was just like a lot of work. It was not like what I thought it was going to be. A lot of work and a lot of pressure. So I found myself in the nonprofit sector, and I loved nonprofit. And I spent over 20 years in the nonprofit sector doing PR, marketing, and communications. And so if you can imagine, if I went straight to college, really like straight to the corporate thing, like I got burnt out really quick. So probably by then, I'm interested in trying to see if I can take what I've known and learned and use for corporations and nonprofits and use it toward my own small business. And what do you know? It worked. So I'm thinking, who else can I help with the skills and knowledge and access that I have? Other small businesses, particularly other Black owned businesses as well. I was living in Baltimore, Maryland at the time. And I ended up moving to Tennessee. And I was like, all right, I'm going to pick up right where I left off. But when I got here, I found that like the Black business community really needed a lot of help and support and connection. And, that's really how I got really plugged into the Black business community here in Rutherford County. And so I had, skills and opportunities. So I made arrangements for businesses to be able to meet and to get together. Everyone here said that that's what they needed. I was the new kid on town. So I was like, all right, let's see what we can do to get people together. Some of those have been through events. Like Malika said, we could use so many more events and opportunities here to connect the businesses. That's what they told me the most. A stranger, like, this is what we need here. Can you do it? And so that's how I met people. I just started curating things and having people come. And that's how I was able to meet people and tell them who I am and, what I do and what I offer, because that is called marketing. So I gave the people what they want, brought them to them, and introduced myself to them. And then I found that there was still such a great need that so many people weren't even ready for from marketing, that they needed like the foundational things. And it was just a bigger job than what I could do. So I was doing some research. I ended up finding about Corner to Corner, which is a nonprofit organization in Nashville. And one of their programs that they have is called the Academy, which is a 10-week entrepreneurship cohort specifically for Black-owned businesses in the area. At the time, it was just for like Davidson County, Nashville area. But I made an email and a couple phone calls and had some meetings and were like, listen, your neighbors need you. And so in 2020, we piloted the first cohort of the Academy here in Murfreesboro, kind of as like a test pilot kind of thing. So we did a lot of the fundraising and the funding for it to pay for a building, to pay for facilitators and training. And the Black business owners in the community are the people who stepped up and gave us the money to be able to do this. And so we were able to do it for a whole year. We graduated over 30 Black entrepreneurs into the community. Several of them went on to have patents. Hey, Kenya. Several people went on to open brick and mortars. And that was in 2020. So we're talking about 5 years now and nearly 100 entrepreneurs coming out of that program and still going. So we're very thankful to be able to have that resource in our community, but we could always use more hands and more resources.
Now, it's really interesting. You said that you started this venture right around 2020. That was the height of COVID.
So it was actually the very first week that we started, that we met in person. We started a week late because there was a tornado right in Nashville. And then we had our very first week meeting. And then that's when there were rumblings, of something going on. And we weren't sure about that. And that was the one and only time that we were able to meet that year. So we had to go offline. But when I tell you that bonded us so much and made us so realize how important it is for us to be able to have our own businesses, because things are not predictable and you need to be able to depend on yourself, because so many people were out of work at that time. What a great time to start a business.
Okay. Now, and you know what? And one of the things that I saw is that you're absolutely right. Because businesses were shut down, people were not working. A lot of folk decided, I can do this for myself. So that was a really interesting revelation that it seems that a lot of people came to during the pandemic. But let me ask you this: when it comes to truly starting up, you're in that mind frame of, I really want to do this. I'm a new entrepreneur. Where do you start? Either of you.
Well, clearly, I think people are way more fortunate now because we do have a resource called the internet. So there's a lot of good information and content creators creating material for startups. So I would definitely say go there just to start doing your research. Then we have our small business administration. I've even, in my earlier years, when I first started the healthcare consulting agency, I spent time there, helping with business plans. And sometimes you're looking for financing, which I have my own take on that. But there are a lot of resources out there. I know. There's a lot of resources out there that at least get you pointed in the right direction. That's my take on it.
Now, you said something there that really kind of sparked my interest. And financing is usually the barrier that keeps people from exploring different things and taking specific risks. So can you elaborate a little bit more on that? What do you mean?
My answer is not going to be probably the most popular answer. We also admin the group Black Murfreesboro. So I have a lot of businesses reach out that ask instantly, how do I get money for my business? I need a grant. And I'm like, heck, me too. Where do we get those from? Because I know that it is definitely possible, but it does take a lot of work. That's almost like a whole nother job, working for grants and things of that nature. Personally, what I would tell people, and like I said, this may not be popular, is you always have to try to self-fund this first. I can disclose that Franklin's Fruit Tea was not started with a loan. I actually do not recommend people getting in debt. And every business type is different. So it kind of depends on what you're trying to do. But I literally worked for free for my business and took my money, my extra money, and I put it into the business. And did that for years until 2022 is when both me and my husband quit his full-time job. And then I quit in 2023. So it took time to build that. And so I do try to tell people, you may have to get a stricter budget. Self-finance your business as long as you can, because if you take out a loan, and I've done that too, I've had an SBA loan. That note has to be paid as soon as you sign those closing documents. The next month they're going, we need our money. If you're still trying to generate money, that is very hard to do, especially in the beginning stages when you maybe haven't worked out the concept yet. Maybe you're still waiting to gain customers. So are you even making money yet? And that's a whole nother topic. If you go to a bank and you just have an idea and you have no books that say, look at all the money I'm making, nobody's giving you any money. I mean, just save yourself the headache, because believe me, even a company I had that was making good money, I still caught the dickens trying to get an SBA loan.
Oh, wow.
So
Taisha, your
Yes.
thoughts on that?
So listen, I agree with all of that. All of that, right? I feel like some of that comes when you are like in business and you're kind of learning and starting to rack up expenses. So I'm gonna go back and talk about like the startup, right? Because with working with the academy with Corner to Corner, right? There's a myriad of people who come in. Some people are, already in business, they're looking to scale, they're looking to get connected. But then there's some people who just started, or they have an idea and haven't done anything, or they have something that they're doing for themselves, and everyone at like school and church is like, you should start a business, but they don't really know. And the number one thing that they lack the most and that they need the most is the mindset. Like, entrepreneurship is hard, right? So if you think you're going to leave a 9 to 5 and go into entrepreneurship, it is going to be easier. Some things will be easier, like you'll have more control over your time, but you'll spend a lot more of your time as well. And so you have to have a certain mindset, like, all right, why am I starting this business? Usually it's because someone is feeling a need, right? So you need to remember, all right, this is the need. This is the place that I was in when I felt like I needed this. You have to really keep that in your mind, because there's so many times that you will want to quit. There's so many times that you will quit. There's so many times that I do quit. And then I'm right back at it the next day, because, I remember the mindset and why I want to do it. So I think that people really starting out should focus on like working on mindset, working on, being okay, being visible, for people seeing them, for people hearing them. It's okay for their audiences to know they're Black, because, a lot of times we have businesses and we're not sure how we would be received, and so people come with those kind of struggles. Should I be the face or should I not be the face? And I think it's a mindset, is whatever you decide, but you need to be firm in that. So I think prayer in business helps a lot. Community in business, having other people that you can talk to and cry and like talk through things. So I think like the mindset in the community to be able to be longevity, as an entrepreneur and in the business is very important. So many people have imposter syndromes and they're afraid to get out there. But listen, girl, you can have the best fill in the blank, but if we don't know about it, how can we get it? If we can't get it, how are you helping us? If you're not helping us, then what are you doing in your business, right? Especially if you're purpose-led, if you feel God-led and you're not going all the way through and making sure we get what we need to get from you, are you living in your purpose? And that's a lot of part of the marketing. You can be doing the good works, but if you are not spreading the gospel, you are not finished. It is part of the process, is marketing and putting yourself out there.
Wow. Now look, whoa, you guys are dropping some serious gems today. Now I'm gonna tell you, I came from working class family. I mean, go to school, get your degree, get your great corporate job. And I believed in that mantra for a very long time. Now, one of the things that you guys said was having an entrepreneurial mindset. You both say that you came from families who actually did this kind of thing. So, how do you develop that muscle in order to truly keep going when the days are long and the pay is not great when you first start? Like you said, you're working with limited funds and you're trying to figure this whole thing out. How do you keep it together to keep getting better and better and improving your product and improving your market share and things of that nature?
I would start with writing down your why. Why do you even want to do this at all, which is really kind of emotional. I found an old binder where I went back to school after I went through a divorce and had a baby. And I opened the binder up because I was getting rid of some decluttering, and I had my oldest two kids' name wrote down with a heart. And I actually just sent it to them. It was this morning, and I was like, I wrote my why down so I could make it through school as a single mother, just get going through divorce. Those are hard times, and so even in business now, I have to remember my why. For me, it is I am trying to build some generational wealth for my children. I want our brand to be, a brand that's up there with these household names one day. And so that keeps me in a mind state of I can endure until I get to my goal. Now I remember, like, there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel. I will get there one day. I just have to endure during this time. So yes, I pretty much work 7 days a week. I miss out on fun things sometimes, but I remember I'm doing this for a legacy for my children. And I also want to represent our community as a Black business owner, even to get where we've gone. I remember I said we started in Murfreesboro at a little festival at Kennisburg. We've gone all the way to mass retailer. We're on Kroger shelves. And as big as that is for us as a family, it is amazing to see what that does for other small business owners. I have people literally come up to me in tears, like, you don't know what this means for me. I literally walked in dealers the other day, just as oblivious as I could be. And a young lady who is a makeup artist starting her own business, she just found out that dealers was closing here. And she said, just seeing you gives me faith. And I'm looking, I've never met this lady before. And I'm like, what do you mean? She was like, no, your story is keeping me going right now. And I just hugged her and I was like, I don't know what you're going through, but if you can endure, just remember your why and keep pushing forward. You'll make it. But you do, like my husband said, you gotta have that dog in you. When people tell you no, you gotta know you can and keep pushing. And it definitely is a mindset and being okay with being uncomfortable, because being uncomfortable allows you to grow.
Taisha, you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I would say, listen, definitely all the things. We're dropping jewels. So I agree with everything you say, Malika. So I'm not gonna keep going, but listen, I agree. But I'm trying to like give a little bit of balance. So I would say finances, as someone who teaches, entrepreneurship to people, the numbers, right? Whether you're gonna sink or swim is in the numbers, whether you go live or die is in the numbers, whether you feast or famine is in the numbers. And oftentimes we just like get so afraid to look at the numbers, right? Especially if we know that the numbers are not numbering. We can't worry about that. So I think that, in addition to having mindset and, and resources and knowing your why, you need to know how much also, right? Because we need to make it work. So I would say, I'm learning things about like what your expenses are, even if you're starting right now, if you have Canva, how much is that costing you a month? Because that is a bill. That's a business bill. If you're using, any kind of tools, any kind of machines, any kind of materials, you need to be thinking about how much all those things are costing you to have your cell phone bill to run your business. Listen, you can't do it without that. So consider that as a business expense, like the equipment that you have. Start tallying, what you are using already or what you think you would need to know what that amount would be, so that when you're starting in business and you're charging your prices, you're making your prices, you're not just pulling them, out of thin air. Give me $25. That sounds good, right? You know how much it costs to make that, how, for the materials, for the shipping. I'm talking about the bubble paper, the stamp, like all of those things cost, right? So when we know how much things cost, it helps us be able to decide how we're going to set our prices. And when we know how we got our numbers for our prices, right, it makes us stand on business when it comes to those prices. Because as Black owned businesses, and we like to haggle each other and play let's make a deal and kind of get a discount, and when we don't go to those big box stores and do that, right? And so I'm not against giving discounts, but know what you're giving. Know that I can give you $5 off and still be okay. But I can't give you half price, because then I'm paying you to take my stuff, right? And so, balancing those numbers and knowing what those numbers are will help people stay in business a long time. Because if your business is not profitable, you're not going to be able to stay in business. So I would say don't be afraid of like ripping back the Band-Aid and looking at the numbers, see what you're spending, see what you're bringing in, and adjust that. And that'll give you the confidence to be able to present your business, present your prices, because on the back end what those numbers mean to you.
Absolutely. Now, that goes back to something else that is really important when you talk about knowing your worth, basically. And one of the things that I find, and you're absolutely correct, when we go to these various um, pop-up shops and things of that nature, people do complain about the price, but they don't understand that as a single owner on a limited scale is going to cost you a little bit more than it would the guy that's mass producing. How do you handle that hurdle when it comes to cost versus, cost, quality, things of that nature that says this is what the price is, and instead of haggling with that individual, getting them to know and understand I can't give you a 50% discount?
Yeah, I deal with that. Obviously, in this business, we're selling fruit tea, and a lot of people like to compare it to sweet tea, and there's a big difference. So, first, you got to have a product that is exceptional. You want to be the best in the market because, like what we do, I can shut you up by giving you a sample. That's it. Try it. Try it. If you, oh, that's expensive. I don't want it. I say, okay, here, I'm gonna give you a little taste, and you tell me. Now, I'm gonna tell you that shuts it down most of the time. But then I also do take time to educate my consumer that this is a product that we literally puree fruits into. And I'm like, if you had to go buy tea, brew tea, buy fruits, puree fruits, combine the sugar alone, like how much would that really cost you and your time included? And then when they step back and start to think of it, they realize, okay, this isn't what I thought it was. It's much better. And it's a premium product. And I do explain that we are an emerging brand. We don't make this in a factory. We have a commercial kitchen, but we're making this in an artisan fashion, a small batch, so that you taste the premium taste. So I can stop a lot of it with a sample, but I definitely experience that when talking to mass retailers. Like when I'm negotiating to go into stores and they see the price point, they literally say, nobody's going to pay this. Like you don't understand. I've been punched in the belly. I walked into one store and the manager said, we don't want you here. Your price is too high. We can't sell this.
Oh, wow.
And I had to kind of reel it back because, of course, as a small business, we're also emotional. We want to get defensive. And I have to remember, it is business. To that person, they are trying to see the value in it. And then I definitely had to do the same thing where I said, well, we actually do have a customer base that are looking for this type of product. Right now, we are in the market at this scale. And what was beautiful even about that story is the product sold out of that particular store in one day. And the guy had to come back and go, I gotta retract what I said. But customers will pay for products when they understand your story and they actually love and enjoy the product that they're purchasing. We'll pay for what we want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you're absolutely right in that. Now, let me ask you this, because I know that, again, I've seen your product in Kroger. I've picked up a bottle or two at that time. And every now and again, I have to run down to Junior's food store and I see your product there. What's next for Franklin Fruit Tea? I'm super, and I'm excited to see that you're there because a lot of Fridays I don't get a chance to get to the market, but I'm gonna get to the store at least once or twice a week.
I think long term, we definitely would love to be a household name. Now, we say this loosely, and I'm like, are we sure what we're asking for? I would love to see this across the country, but I want to scale back just a little bit and say definitely through Middle Tennessee, maybe some bordering states, we would definitely love to be a presence in grocery stores. And we do have some talks with some major retailers about expanding. Kroger has really been an amazing conduit for us where they actually are meeting us where we're at. So we definitely see expansion throughout Kroger. And we know Kroger is not just here, it's in many other states. So I definitely see us expanding. We are at a place where scaling is a new trick that I'm having to figure out. So you never stop learning as an entrepreneur. I'm trying to learn how, okay, we've gotten to this point. It takes a lot more employees, equipment, uh, just money in general to get to the next phase. So that's something that we're actually hashing through. But definitely, you can expect to see a lot of growth. We're doing it at a rate that's digestible. So we did have the opportunity to go into 150 stores like all at once. But I also have to understand, as a small business, you can break it. You really can break it. And I was like, no, we can't do that just yet. That would be a lot of strain. So chopping it down to smaller, digestible pieces and growing, like in increments. So just expect to see us across more stores, hopefully more mass and more local restaurants and brands across Middle Tennessee.
Awesome. All right. We'll definitely look for that. Now, Taisha, talk to us about what it is that you do, the product that you serve, and how you're able to market to your clientele.
Yes, so thank you. So we've talked about me being a facilitator for Corner to Corner for their academy program, but I consider the academy, well, Corner to Corner is one of my clients, right? So by trade, I'm a publicist, and a publicist, it's simply listen. And so I had to break it down for my mom because she could never tell people back what I do. And so one day I was just like, oh, how can I say this easy? I help people get on the news, and she said, why don't you just say that? So I just started saying that now, right? I help people get on the news. So as a publicist, my background is media, PR, kind of communication. And I help people get their brands together, like their digital reputation, like media bio, headshots, any kind of past press that they have. I pull all these things together to work with people to help them use that to get visibility, to get more sales, and to actually get more publicity. So for instance, I help people, I provide tools, resources, and opportunities through my PR company called Media Circus Publicity. And I create ways for people to be able to earn media. It's one thing to be able to tell you yourself as one person to tell 1 million people about your business, right? But you could tell a story about your business one time on the news and have that reach millions of people. And so not only are you reaching all of those people, but now you have, local news, major news, world news telling other people that, hey, this person is reputable. This person is credible, which is going to make customers and clients, transition over more. It's going to build trust, right? So you can do a little less marketing and saying, hey, look at my product, look at my service, look at my product, look at my service. You can use the media to say, hey, look at this person's business, look at this person's product, look at this person's service, right? Because we want to get eyes on those businesses. And that's why it's important, like Marlika said, to make sure that you have a fantastic product, right? You need to have the product. So we can only do so far as getting you the attention, but you'll have to do it all the way. And so that's what I help people do. I help them be able to get ready to get found by media, and to get featured in the media. And then not only do that, once we get featured in the media, how can you leverage that visibility and that opportunity into sales, into brand deals, into so many more things. So that's what I do as a trade. I help people. Of course, marketing is a part of communications, and all of that is in a wheelhouse together. But my main niche is public relations, helping people get in front of the media, so that they can, have their messages spread far and wide with the least amount of effort.
Okay, so you take a little bit of the pressure off of an individual that's out there just trying to market and do all of those things by themselves. You give them an opportunity to say, let me take this and let me show the people who you are.
Yes, there's just so many ways to do things. And I feel like as an entrepreneur, right, it's already so hard and we already have so many challenges. Like, why make it harder? If you're not comfortable doing one thing and you're not going to be consistent with it, don't do it. Okay. If you're super shy and you're not going to go online and go live and do all those things, daily, then it's hard to really force yourself. But if you could do something like sit for an interview like we're doing now, and talk about your business, something that comes naturally or something that's more casual, we can have a back and forth conversation with someone, then that by all means use that, method to get your message out. It's just one tool in a toolbox. So while marketing and promotion might not be for you, then maybe public relations and publicity might be something that might be easier for you. And it still has a great impact, sometimes even more of an impact to have earned media, which is what we call when you're interviewed, as opposed to like paid media, which would be like, advertising. So, they're kind of hand in hand as far as like impact. But when you come with the earned media, that publicity, that press, like it gets you a little bit more longevity. And I feel like that can help you start to have some wins, start to see yourself out there, start to listen to yourself telling your story. And I think that helps people gain the confidence that they need to, to finally say, all right, I've done 10 podcast episodes. I feel good talking. Okay, maybe I'll try going live. So some people, this is a, like a stepping stone or a little bit easier way for them to get in front of audiences, as opposed to, like the hardcore marketing and advertising. I think you should do a little of all, a little marketing, a little PR, a little advertising. It never hurts to kind of diversify that the ways that we're getting out in front of people. I think, with not the own media, what we call now social media now. We used to not count that. Listen, that lets you know like how old school I had. We used to not count social media. But even with social media now, when we see that, social media can be here today, gone tomorrow, what other platforms can we utilize to reach our audiences? We say our email and other things as well, but also mass media and major media is always going to be king. It's always going to be the number one way that people receive information and news. So we should always try to keep that in our wheelhouse. It can be intimidating, but at Media Circus, what I want to do is to make it easy and fun for everyday entrepreneurs to be able to find media opportunities and pitch them and be featured, because it shouldn't be this big scary thing. Like it's not gate kept anymore like it used to be in a long time ago. And what I really want to do is use my platform and my knowledge to share this information, with the everyday entrepreneur who could use, a shot at getting in front of major media, just like these big brands.
Okay. So now look, I was talking to one of your facilitators a couple of weeks ago, and we were discussing corner to corner. And I was like, wow, I'm really thinking about doing more within this entrepreneurial space. And I was like, I think corner to corner is a great opportunity, but I don't want to drive to Nashville. And she was like, no, you don't have to do that. That you guys are located right here. So let's just say, for anyone that's new or that has a product or a thought or a vision, and they're like, I really want to work on this foundational piece. What does corner to corner actually offer the layperson that is getting started and wants to know and learn more? How can corner to corner help me with that?
Yes. So the academy is based out of Nashville, but again, when we needed that help here in Rutherford County, I was like, listen, we need our own site here because we're not doing that drive. Like it's really hard. And they felt like Nashville feels like Murfreesboro is close, but I actually had them meet me and they were like, ooh, this was a good little drive. And I'm like, that's what I'm saying. So we were able to have a Murfreesboro location, which was one of the first satellite locations for the academy. So there's also one in Antioch now. So if you're a little bit halfway, there's an Antioch, and then the rest of them are in like the Nashville area. And so it's a 10-week cohort. And so we meet every week for 10 weeks from it's about 2.5 hours. I think it's 6 to 8:30. That sounds about right. 6 to 8:30. We meet for 10 weeks. Once in the spring and once in the fall, 2 different cohorts. And every week is a different lesson, right? And so you're learning about your own business, you're learning about who your customer is, you're learning marketing, communications. We take classes in like accounting, in legal. We have guests come in, because as facilitators, we're facilitating the information, but there's just so many levels of expertise. So we love, and the students love, the entrepreneurs love when we have guests come in, and the guests are local businesses, right? So we're like, oh, let me get your contact information because you're going to be my accountant after this. So it's deals like already happening within class. Some people come and they just have an idea. Some people come and they're in business, but we are all in the same thing. We're either trying to grow or scale, and we help each other. In the classes, they like start little side businesses together, or use each other as vendors. So it starts even before class is over. So we do all of these 10 workshops, and at the end of them, every week builds on what we call a canvas, right? Which is like a graphic version of a business plan. So by the time you're done with the 10 weeks of class, you have a easy to read business plan that you could literally unfold and take to a meeting with you or take to the bank with you. We encourage our entrepreneurs to put it on the wall so that they see it every day, right? So to keep that mindset, if they have an epiphany or they learn something in class, or they learn something from talking to a customer, they can go back and be like, all right, I need to change this, on my board. I have some different information. So it's like living and growing your business at the same time. The great part of it is the community, right? Entrepreneurship can feel, so lonely, at times, or people think you're crazy because you're up all night working, working, working. Well, listen, get you some friends who are crazy about their businesses, who are up working, working, working all night too, who can talk to you, right? Because there's tons of us. And so we find community in that as well. And then of course, at the end of classes, each class, each course, each cohort has a pitch competition within class where everyone pitches their business, which is super important. Gosh, you have to have that skill. Like, no matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing, you got to be able to give it to people about your business and quick, fast, and in a hurry, and be dynamic with it, right? It's another quick way of marketing, another way of grabbing people's attention to be able to pitch. So our students work on the pitch throughout the class. Everyone pitches at the end. And then each class votes for the person who is going to go to the next round of pitching, and compete. And then those people who go to that final round at graduation, they get to compete on the stage for cash, and prizes as well. And it's just amazing to see how far people have come, and you just kind of never know who will be on that stage, right? It could be the person who was the most quiet at the beginning. That is the people that are up on stage. So it's just a very transformative community environment even after you graduate. Listen, that's the beginning, right? People think that's the end. It's the very beginning, because their academy alumni program is top tier. And Marlika, when you were talking about like funding, I would say that Corner to Corner has the pulse on that, to be able to, offer funding opportunities, grant opportunities. They even have their own kind of funding. They send so many businesses to like the Goldman Sachs Black women programs. It's just the amount of resources they have to support entrepreneurs once they go through the program is top tier and top notch, because we always need help and motivation to continue to go. And then we always need, kind of funding to grow. And I love that, it's a all encompassing program, to where, it takes care of you for the life cycle of being in business and being an entrepreneur. The spring session starts in February. And so yesterday was the last day to apply for the spring. However, sometimes it might open back up again if there's some people who don't decide not to enroll this time. So be on the lookout for their page, their social media, their website, cornertocorner.org. And then if you don't catch it this time, then catch us in the fall, because we do it twice a year, every year, without fail. So definitely look into it and see if it's right for you.
So, there's always that final question, because that pitch was absolutely amazing. What's it going to cost me?
Listen, glad you asked that also. Corner to Corner, again, I mentioned that it's a nonprofit organization, right? So they raise funds, they have grants, funding to help with their programs, and the Academy is one of them. It costs them several $100s, maybe even over $1,000 or so, to put one student through the Academy, right? But they cover all the grants and funding for that, to the expenses to be able to do that. All they ask is that you meet them part way and pay for your book, right? So you get this big, heavy binder that's yours. You can write in it. It's yours. Whether you finish the 10 weeks or not, it's yours. You have the information. So they just ask that you cover their book. And that book is $160. Now I know I have paid $160 for a webinar and hadn't left it with anything. So imagine to be able to have this huge, this book and this resource. So that is literally paying for your book. And not only that, you can put $25 down and get started. and not have to be responsible for the balance of your book until the end of the 10 weeks, right? So you have the whole 10 weeks to really, kind of make payments on that, and pay that off. And so listen, and they understand that lives too, right? And this is a Christian organization. So I'm not saying don't pay your book off, but I'm saying there has been times where, some people just possibly just cannot do it in time. That doesn't prevent you from completing the program. It doesn't prevent you from completing the graduation, because at the end of the day, we're here to help our neighbors, be able to flourish. And just know that, there are a very gracious company. So if you have any kind of hesitations, if you're worried about that 160, because that could be a lot to some folks, I would say don't let that stop you from applying, because they'll be more than happy to work with you to help you be able, to be a part of the program.
Oh man, that is awesome. $160 and we're getting a wealth of knowledge. I think there are a lot of people who probably didn't know that. I know that I've seen it, and I will always wonder, what's that going to cost me? $160 investment in myself in order to be able to gather all of that great information and knowledge. Oh my goodness. I think that's doable. So
Yes.
so
So
very
many of
doable.
our
So let me
entrepreneurs
ask you
make
guys.
money during class. So, you could make that to pay that off
Mhm.
during class.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, look, before we wrap up, I have a favor to ask. What I really want to know is if you had one really good piece of advice to give someone who's wanting to get into the entrepreneurial space, who's thinking about coming out of the entrepreneurial space and going back to their 9 to 5, what would you say to that individual to help them to keep going and pressing on? Malika, we'll start with you.
Okay. I would say don't quit. If you know that what you're doing is serving people, you're making a great product, and you really believe in your why, don't quit. Wanting to quit or feeling like quitting is a very normal part of this process and journey. It's kind of like where people say you're not really in love if you ain't thought about killing your spouse. It's kind of like one of those things. It's just a part of the process. And I'm really close to a lot of small businesses, and it just tears me up to see people. I know they got great brands and great products, and to see them quit is just really almost devastating for me, because I know they can make it. But there are seasons to this thing. It goes up, it goes down. And sometimes imagine if you quit right before you was about to win.
Right.
And I promise you, Franklin's Fruit Tea, me and Jamel were laughing about this other day. We almost quit in 20. We had maybe like 3 events behind us, and we did an event in Franklin, Tennessee. It was 100 degrees that day. There were hardly any people out. We shouldn't have been out. We had got all set up, put all this effort into it, and I don't even we after 2 or 3 days of an event, we barely made the booth rent back, and we looked at each other, and we were like, okay, maybe we were overzealous. We shouldn't be doing this. And luckily, the very next event, we said, let's try one more time. And we were thinking about that as we literally secret. We just like went into all the Kroger stores in Franklin, Tennessee. That's why we were talking about Franklin. What if we had to quit that day? What if we had to given up because we weren't making any money? We were miserable. People were looking at us like we were crazy because they were like, anyway, it was hot, and it just wasn't a good day. And I think some people quit when it's just not a good day in their business life cycle. And if they just hang on, focus on the why, understand that is a part of the journey. You're going to feel like this isn't working. You go back to the drawing board, revamp some things, and get back out there. Just don't quit. Keep going.
I like that. Say, hold on when there's nothing left in you except the will that says, hold on. All right. Taisha, what you got for us?
Yes, I agree. Listen, the only way to lose in this is to quit. We wonder why so many businesses be like, they're terrible, but they're still there. Well, listen, they won't go away. So longevity, just hang in there, hang in there. I would say that using your resources, right? Again, it can kind of be an island being an entrepreneur, or trying to work in a silo. I would say use your resources. There's so many resources that are designed for entrepreneurs and business owners that people don't really tap into, like the Chamber of Commerce, the Small Business Development Center, SBA. Alice online to find grants. I'm always, signing up for a free webinar on, government contracting. I don't know anything about that. That seems like something I should know about. This information is free. I'm going to take myself down here, and I'm going to learn about this. And so I think oftentimes we just kind of get head down in our businesses and we forget to, come up and not only be the administrators and the workers of our businesses, but also be the CEO, right? Because it's easy to kind of get bogged down in the doing. But then, you need to be able to be fresh and, to learn and be in the loop so that you can be the person to help grow your business as well. So I would say, definitely use your resources and find out, what's available for small businesses and entrepreneurs in your community and online, and use those tools and resources to help keep you sharp and to help you keep you in front of opportunities and ultimately, ahead of your competition.
All right. Well, ladies, thank you so very much for joining us. And for all of those folks out there, again, this is Financial Fortitude with the Rutherford County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. We look forward to seeing you every first Friday as we bring you interesting information in regards to economic development. Like, share, and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We look forward to seeing you all next month. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.